Thank you, Chairman. So it's no secret that, within line of what my colleague from New York said, Saudi Arabia and the Emirates are brutal regimes. They export brutality. They crush democratic movements abroad directly and indirectly. I also believe that they have been funders of terrorists. And we have heard reports that they're transferring U.S. weapons to al-Qaeda. I believe that our relationship with them in its current form is immoral, but it's not only immoral, it's counterproductive to our national security. I believe in trusting them to protect our needs and protecting us against terroristic threats is like trusting a thief to protect your shop. This administration selling them billions of dollars of weapons is dangerous and it's outrageous. Doing so is open disregard for the will of Congress and the American people, slap in the face to our democracy and our values. Twice in the last 25 years, Saudi Arabia and the Emirates have invaded Bahrain to crash democratic uprising. The Saudis actively supported the Egyptian coup in 2013. In April of this year, the United Nations finally believed they were on the verge of negotiating peace in Libya. This has instead collapsed into a civil war. Haftar has waged his bloody campaign with Saudi backing and Emirat weapons. More recently in Sudan, Hemeti visited MPS in Jeddah, and shortly after that, him and the Janjaweed immediately began murdering democratic protesters by the hundreds. It's clear that state sees Saudi hand in the crackdown. Since David Hale called MPS's brother, Khalid bin Salam, to ask him to use Saudi influence to stop the killings. This is a disturbing pattern of destabilization and totalitarianism. Backing the Saudi and the Emirates is backing war crimes and crimes against humanity. Providing them with arms is complicity. So I ask you, how can we make sure that U.S. weapons do not end up in the hands of the Janjaweed? How can we ensure that U.S. weapons aren't being used to murder political protesters in Sudan?
Congresswoman Omar, thank you. As to our partnerships, and you mentioned Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, and there's some other partners that are either developing or devolving in some cases. All of our partnerships on a security sense, including some that are economic, are predicated on our interests, on U.S. interests. But that's not new. That's not unique to this administration or the previous administration or back to the time of Washington. We develop partnerships because of what works best for U.S. interests. It doesn't preclude us, though, from holding partners accountable, not just on human rights, access to civil society, but also holding accountable on protecting our interests. And so when we're either provision of a weapon system or a capacity or a certain kind of sustainment, with that comes a relationship. So it's a long-term investment. That is what makes us unique to our adversaries.
To the question of how can we assure that this partnership can be trusted to protect us from eventually having some of our weapons end up in the hands of terrorists is my question, and making sure that it doesn't go into murdering political protesters in Sudan, because what we have seen is that our weapons have been used to assault schools, bridges, hospitals. In places like Yemen, we've seen the Saudis' involvement and their footprint in Libya. We've seen their involvement and footprint in Somalia with Al-Shabaab. So what I'm asking you is, how can you assure the American people that we are not emboldening them to continue to reign their terror in destabilizing that region when we trust them to be a partner in stabilizing it?
Yeah. Saudi Arabia has been a long-time security partner in the region for almost 40 years. It does not and never has precluded us from accountability